do know you're a ghost, right, Cedric?
My dear fellow, I'm dead, not stupid.
Some spirits linger in the lower planes because they don't know, or refuse to believe, that they're dead.
No one ever said that death was a cure for denial.
Then why don't you move on? Why do you haunt this place?
I'm not haunting it. This is my home. I'm comfortable here. And I see absolutely no reason to go flitting around time and space just because I'm no longer flesh and blood.
What about the people that live here now?
They don't bother me. And I don't bother them. Much. Susan is the only one who can see and hear me. She calls me grumpy. Sometimes she tells her mother and father about me. But of course the dullards dismiss it as childish imagination. To be honest, that suits me just fine. Susan's father, Ronald, is my great-great-grandson. 7 generations have lived in this house. If you ask me, there isn't the slightest resemblance at all.
You sound disappointed.
Well, I suppose the poor boy means well, but he has all the wit of a wilted turnip. It's hard to imagine that clever little type sprang from Ronald's loins.
So, you're here to stay.
Until the house crumbles to dust, rather like my bones.
Why don't you tell me about your spirit guide? Doesn't she encourage you to move on?
Well, yes, she does drop by from time to see if I've changed my mind, and I offer her a cup of tea and send her on her way.
She said you offered her hemlock.
Well, it was good enough for Socrates. Always stick with the classics, I say.
And what if the family moved?
Moved? Why on earth would they do that? You don't really think they'd move, do you?
Things change.
Not if I can help it.
When I was lying there in the street after the accident, I remember worrying about Sarah. Who would take care of her if I didn't make it? And then I floated up and out of my body. I saw everything from high above. Everyone rushing to the accident. The paramedics trying to revive me. It was so surreal. Looking down, I almost didn't recognize myself. I mean, how often do you see yourself at that angle, you know? After that, there was a sense of detachment. Like it wasn't really me down there. When I saw that tunnel of light, I knew it was over. But being in that light, it was so beautiful. So peaceful. And I felt so loved. It's like when you go to sleep and you dream and it seems so real. And then you wake up and it fades away. Dying's just like that. Like my physical life was just a dream, and then I woke up.
How did you die, Marvin?
The tobacco diet. 2 packs a day for 40 years. Irene pleaded with me to stop.
You had 65 good years.
Could have had 90.
You created this house from memory?
Our home in Pasadena. The Bible says, "In my Father's house there are many mansions." It may not be a mansion, but it's good enough for me. One of the perks of spirit is you think it, poof, it appears. Maybe not an exact copy, but close enough.
I'm surprised to hear you quote the New Testament.
Jews, Christians, Hindus, Muslims, Buddhists, whatever. All roads lead to the same place.
How did you feel when you realized you were dead?
I believed in the hereafter, but I was somewhat surprised to still be, well, me. I don't know what I expected, but I thought things would be different.
You know you can make them different with a thought.
I'm not complaining, mind you. This house is familiar, comfortable, and maybe that's the point.
How so?
Well, if things were too different, heaven wouldn't feel like home.
My mother was so sad after I died. It was difficult reaching her to let her know I was all right. Physical reality is so 重い、硬い
Dense.
Yes, dense. It's hard to get through.
But you finally did.
少し helped.
Your cat.
You know how cats can see the spirits. One day, when my mother was crying very hard, I told Skoshi to jump up in her lap. She became calm, more receptive. When she was very quiet, I sent her my energy, my love. She looked around the room, even whispered my name, Miyuki. So I know she could feel me.
I thought your name was Kyoko.
That's my kaimyo, a spirit name given to me at my funeral ceremony. That's part of Buddhist tradition. Here, I'm Kyoko, and I will always be Miyuki to my mother.
You know your family and friends are down in the house.
I like to hang out here. It's quiet. No one comes up here, goes in my room much since I died. I was gonna be an astronaut. Would have been way cooler to die out in space.
How did you die?
Fell out of the stupid tree. Hit my head on the sidewalk.
You fell.
Okay, Danny pushed me. But we were just playing around. He didn't mean to hurt me.
Do you miss your brother and your parents?
I saw them at the funeral. Everyone was crying, except Danny. He could see me.
You let him see you on purpose.
I knew if he saw me smiling at him, he'd know everything was okay. And that he didn't have to feel bad.
Did he tell anyone?
It's our secret.
What about your mom and dad?
My mom finally came into my room. Saw I left the ball in the middle of the floor. She just picked it up and put it back on the shelf. And then she cried. She told Dad and he yelled at her. Said she had to let me go. She cried some more.
I'm sorry, Bobby. Maybe it's time for you to move on. What happened, Roy?
I owed a little money. Извините, he owed a lot of money, okay?
Roy blew our nest egg trying to win what he owed. Can you believe it? We were gonna get married. Fly to Tahiti on our honeymoon. My father gave us that money, and Roy loses it in one night. And what do I get? Shot in the ass.
Care to explain?
This big ape busts in the room. Roy's on his knees begging for more time. The guy says he's sorry and pops his bull. He's sorry!
Collateral damage. It happens. I said it was sorry.
Roy, why are you still here?
Where else I gotta go? I got Tawny and me killed. I mean, you think she'd want to hang with me?
They say love never dies.
Thanks for the tip. Well, at least I don't have to look over my shoulder no more.
Now what am I gonna do? I miss Roy.
I can take you to him.
I'm still mad at him. Does he miss me?
Why not ask him?
I don't know. Hey! Which one of you little bitches boosted my mango tango? Not dead a day, and they already lifted my lipstick. I hate that they can't hear me. It's one of the things that I really liked about Roy. He was a good listener.
Why are you here?
What, you saying I don't belong?
You shot Roy and Tawny, but how did you die?
Простите. Don't laugh. I slipped.
Excuse me?
I slipped on the deck by the pool. It was wet. After the hit, I'm walking out. I fell, hit my head, and drowned in the frigging pool. Okay? Actually, I guess it is kind of funny. Yeah, instant karma, right? I'm surprised that I'm not,
What do you mean?
Come on. You know what I am, or what I was. I never thought that much about my own death, but I guess somewhere in the back of my mind I figured when it's my time,
But now that you're in spirit, you're no longer that person, are you?
No. No, I guess not.
If you could live your life over again, would you make the same choices?
What, are you kidding? No way.
Then choose a different life. Kate. Kate. Catherine.
Who are you?
I'm a friend. You don't remember me?
Where am I?
It's kind of a waiting room.
Why am I here?
You had an accident.
Is this a hospital?
Not exactly.
I'm not hurt.
No, but you're not yourself.
I don't understand.
What's the last thing you remember before being in this room?
I booked a flight.
Where to?
Los Angeles. Tying up a big business deal. It might get me kicked upstairs.
It already has.
What do you mean?
Never mind. Do you remember your flight number?
133. I guess it was delayed.
No, it took off right on time.
So I'm here in Los Angeles.
The City of Angels.
But I don't remember landing.
Maybe you fell asleep.
No, I never sleep on airplanes.
What do you remember about the flight?
There was some turbulence. Why am I here?
It's like you said. You have unfinished business.
I was a doctor in Nigeria at the time of my death. The boy who murdered me was a patient. A Dusa. A junkie who stole drugs from the hospital pharmacy.
You tried to stop him?
Looking back on it now, I suppose it was stupid. But there were children in my clinic, sick from drinking contaminated water in their village. They needed that medicine.
You did what you thought was right.
No one can die for a better reason than that. If I put a few drops of this in someone's water glass, they would scream bloody murder, but if I dump gallons into a river, it is just business as usual. Aja is one of the children dying from the polluted well. On Earth, she is in a coma.
Hi, Aja.
Hi.
What about your brothers and sisters?
I'm waiting for them so we can all go into the light together.
And the boy who stole the medicine?
He died of an overdose the day after he shot me. I paid him a visit when he arrived. You should have seen his face when he saw mine.
I didn't know I was dead for a long time. I thought I was just high. It's still difficult. I don't want to believe it.
Adusa, how was your life review?
I did some really stupid things. Hurt others. Wasted my life.
What do you remember most?
Everyone I hurt, I could feel what they felt. The fear, the pain, the helplessness. All those kids at the clinic, they died because of me.
Why did you choose this last life?
Well, most of my lives have been male. My God thought I could use some balance, so I say, okay, I could being a chick a spin as long as I could be a lesbian, you know.
Why?
Best of both worlds, I figure. I learned some sensitivity, and I still get to nail some hotties.
How did it work out?
Tougher than I thought. Dad and I didn't really get along, especially after Mom died. I remember this one time. I told him that we had the same fantasy woman. You know, then at least we'd have something in common. Things got ugly after that. Kicked me out of the house on my 15th birthday.
Sorry to hear that.
No, it's okay. Sold some weed, bought a wicked rod, and hit the road. Eventually saved enough to open the bar. My only real home. Yeah. Life was sweet. Till some drunk jerk banged into my bike and I skated under that semi.
The location of your body is still a mystery.
I asked my people to bury me, where white men would never find me. So this whole land is my resting place.
That was a long time ago.
The spirit world is timeless.
But why do you still look like this? Didn't you reincarnate?
Many times, but this is closest to my true spirit. Shortly after I made peace with a white man, I became very sick. I asked my good friend Tom Jeffords if he thought I might die, and he said yes. I told him I thought so too. I told him that I would die around 10 in the morning on the next day, and so I did. I also told him that I knew we would meet again in spirit, and we have.
You chose your time of death.
We all do. Not always by the clock. It's less about time, more about timing. If you move through your life in a good way, in a way that is true for you, you will always end up where you need to be exactly when you need to be there.
You're talking about synchronicity.
I prefer to call it Indian time.
Are you going back again?
It's peaceful here. I think I'll stay a while.
Last life was tough, Holmes. Lived and died in a gang. Only real family I had since I was 9. Got into it one day with the Bloods. Got shanked in the gut. Pain like you can't imagine. Slow death. I watched my blood pour down the gutter into the sewer.
How was it crossing over?
The thought of dying scared the piss out of me. By the time I crossed over, I was terrified. I felt my spirit pull through the tunnel right towards the light. It was blinding. And there, at the end of the tunnel, surrounded by the light, my uncle Alejandro. He died before I was born, but there he was, waiting for me, with a big smile and open arms. All my fear melted away.
I really miss my wife's coffee over there. That army mud was thick enough to grease a tank.
Where did you die, Victor?
The sandbox. Sorry, Iraq. Yeah, the old man roused us in the dark ugly about 4 in the morning. Got word of some insurgents that were holed up in a village about 2 clicks away from our position. Mission had a high pucker factor, if you know what I mean. Anyway, we took them out, but 7 of us bought the farm. Angie and I bought this farm right before I left. God, I missed her coffee.
This is my Irene. She's still quite a looker. Something wrong with the frame, though. Better.
How was your crossing?
Family and friends who had already passed on greeted me when I arrived. It was like Hanukkah at Aunt Sadie's. Or maybe a birthday party. I guess death is like a birth, looking at it from this side.
I see you're still working on your theory.
Oh, you mean the unified field theory? Ah, that I solved soon after I got here. Child's play, really. I don't know why I couldn't solve that when I was alive. It was right in front of my nose. Now this is really interesting.
What is it?
This is the mathematical proof of the survival of consciousness after death. Well, yeah, it's obvious on this side. And when I whisper this into the ear of someone when they're dreaming, it will revolutionize science. I just need to find an open-minded scientist. Yeah, that may take some time.
Mom and I hooked up when I got here, so we're cool. Sad for Dad, though. Look in on him every now and then, but, you know, he's all alone.
Do you think he senses your presence?
It's hard getting through, you know? I mean, physical reality is so...
Yes, dense. I know.
Remember this one time? He was holding a photo of me when I was 10. He was actually crying. Couldn't believe it. Anyway, I guess he was more open or something, because I called out Dad. I think he heard me. Then he put the photo away, so I don't know.
Do you ever drop in to say hello to Irene?
I used to. Got into one of her dreams once, but it made her sad. So I stopped.
Where were you born?
Right here, there in Pasadena.
Where did you choose to die?
In my bed upstairs. I didn't get out much.
Do you feel you accomplished your goals in life?
Some, others, not so much.
Are you going to choose another life?
Not sure. I think I'll hang around for a while. See what Irene wants to do.
Do you regret dying?
No, it was my time to go anyway. I would have gone one way or another. I regret putting Angie through the pain of it all. I mean, I'm proud that I died for a cause that I believe in, and I'm proud that I served my country. Angie is too.
What's your next mission?
I don't know. I'll have another cup of joe and think about it.
Do you think you'll go back, Adusa? Give it another try?
I can go back?
As many times as you want. Start fresh. You've had other lives. You just don't remember them yet.
I don't know. This place isn't so bad compared to living in some shithole. I can see why some people kill themselves.
Death doesn't dissolve responsibility.
I didn't mean to die.
Of course you did. The moment you stuck the first needle in your arm, you were halfway here. You just did it slow. It's okay. You have all eternity to work things out.
Why did you decide to become a guide?
To help lost souls cross over. Like how my uncle made me feel when I crossed. I thought, that's the job for me. So here I am.
What's a lost soul?
Sometimes when a soul has suffered so greatly in its life, it'll sort of be in shock when it arrives on this side. Suicides, homicides, tortured victims, long, painful diseases. Instead of going fully into the light, some remain in a kind of spiritual coma, so they can come to terms with what happened or with the consequences of the choices they made.
What sort of consequences?
Life review.
Can you explain how that works?
There's this one guy. I call him Sam. He was a serial killer back in the 50s. Till he was shot by the cops. Murdered nearly 40 people. Most of Sam's targets were women. Now and then, one of his victims will stop by, peek in on him, out of curiosity or maybe to forgive him, so they can let go and move on, you know.
What about Sam?
He's still reliving each murder from the victim's point of view, just like it was happening to him. Plus, of course, the pain and suffering of the victims' families and friends, and anyone else impacted by their death, or even their absence.
That is a lot to experience.
Hundreds, sometimes thousands of people are affected by the life and death of each individual. My own life review took a while. But it's not a punishment, you know. It's a chance for us to see the truth, that we're all connected. And that's what we feel it all when we get here. No more walls.
Sam looked like he was in pain.
Sometimes the truth hurts.
What will happen to him?
Once he comes to terms with what he did, he can learn from his mistakes and make positive choices next time. As his guide, I'll help him with that.
Then there will be a next time.
There's always a next time, Bato.
Why did you decide to help this particular soul?
I was his neighbor in that life. His first victim.
You were a woman.
Maria. This life and the gang was a reaction from feeling helpless on that life. But I became just as violent. So now I have a chance to balance it all out. What happened to me, I want to make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else, you know?
What now?
Well, you know what they say. What happens in Vegas?
So you're just going to haunt the town?
I just check out some of the action, take in some shows, float through some strip clubs. No cover charge for ghosts, you know.
And then what?
And then do it all again.
And Tawny?
It probably wouldn't have worked out. She deserves better than a loser like me.
What are the biggest differences between being physical and being in spirit?
The aches and pains as your body gets older, even though you still feel like 20 inside. Plus, you don't have to take a piss all the time.
Obviously, the biggest difference is there's no disease or death here. No suffering in the afterlife, except what you bring with you in your own mind. Even that doesn't last long. No need for doctors in the afterlife, although guides can help souls recover from trauma.
What kind of trauma?
Physical life is hard, especially in poor places on Earth. It can take a toll on the soul.
Did Aja and the other children cross over?
They're fine. The shorter the life, the quicker we remember that spirit is our home.
Biggest difference between being alive and dead? You can hear what the living are thinking. You get to know what people really thought of you. I gotta admit, it's not always pretty. Although I gotta say some folks I thought didn't like me really had my back.
Did you go to your funeral?
If you can call it that. Much of my biker buddies held a service right here at this bar. I mean, well, the one on Earth. I was kind of touched. Till the fight broke out and they trashed the place. Still, a lot of good memories here.
What about your dad?
He didn't find out I died until about 3 weeks later. By then, my friends had tossed my ashes into the Grand Canyon. I used to love riding through open country. I never felt more free until I got here.
Spirits don't need to eat, of course, but you can still create the experience. The sensation of eating. 満腹にならないし、太らないし。You never get full. You never get fat.
Well, personally, I don't feel that much different being dead. But of course, a cynic I know might say that's because I never really lived.
What cynic is that?
That cynic would be me.
Do you feel you wasted your life?
No, I didn't say that. I simply chose to be focused. If not for my singular diligence in business, my descendants wouldn't have this house to call their own.
Any regrets not pursuing other interests?
Responsibility is its own reward.
You have no responsibilities now. Why not explore the rest of creation?
Because I'm sensible enough to know that the grass is not always greener on the other side.
You're not the least bit curious what else awaits you?
You've been talking to my spirit guide.
People that were my enemies in life are now my friends in spirit. On Earth, people forget that we are all related, all one heart. But in spirit, the heart speaks louder than the mind.
You can take your time. Take no time at all. Or go back in time as many times as you want. Take it from me. It beats doing time.
I always said that time was relative.
The longer I'm here, the harder it is to relate to physical reality. I mean, as as solid as that felt, I mean, this feels more real now. Maybe that's why the living feel the need to contact the dead more than the other way around.
So people can look any way they want in spirit.
So they tell me. But I'm used to this look. It's like an old pair of comfortable shoes. Besides, I want Irene to recognize me when she gets here.
How is she doing?
Not so well. She went into the hospital for the flu. It developed into pneumonia, then she started to get better, then she got an infection.
You said you tried dream communication?
I'm not so good at it yet. Besides, what with the needles, the pills, and the fever, she barely knows where she is. It's hard to break through the fog. But I won't give up on her. She didn't give up on me.
How's Sarah?
Her foster parents threw her a Sweet 16 party. She looked so beautiful. I wish you could have seen my face, seen how proud I am of her. Sarah and I were in this field one time, surrounded by yellow butterflies. It was so magical. So, at the party, I sent her one yellow butterfly to remind her of the happy times that we shared.
How are you doing now, Maya? Have you adjusted to the spirit realm?
I've learned to live with death. But Sarah's learning to live without her mother.
There's no such thing as an afterlife.
Then where do you think you are?
Some asylum. Apparently having lost my mind.
Can a person who's lost their mind know they've lost their mind?
Yeah, if you're crazy, anything's possible.
All the passengers on that plane died, Catherine, including you.
This can't be the afterlife.
Why not?
Because I expected God to have more of an imagination than this.
But you're the one who built these walls.
Well, I can't say much for my imagination either. I wanted to send a message through this one medium my God suggested, but Dad doesn't believe in psychic powers and stuff.
What does he believe in?
Not much. Our family wasn't big on faith. Or family, for that matter.
There must be at least one moment when you were happy together.
That was a good day.
Ronald actually hired an exorcist. I suppose I finally, how did Susan put it, freaked him out.
Yet you're still here.
The woman was a rank amateur, made a big show of releasing the restless spirit. Holy water, incense, incantations, the whole three-ring circus. So, in the spirit of the theater...
Cedric.
Well, I made myself visible. He ran out of here screaming.
Nobody exorcises Cedric Longfellow.
In addition to helping souls on this side, to be a guide, you gotta be creative about sending signs and messages to the living too. It's hard to get their attention most times. Dreams work, now and then, but I find it is best to use what's already in front of their faces to get the message across. One soul I know, incarnated as a dude named Louis. Louis plays music and plays the piano like God's gift. He's getting pretty famous, but he was out of tune with his spirit. Arrogant, cocky. I thought he needed a good kick in the ego to set him back on track, you know. One evening, he was running late to his concert, so I played on his impatience. Sent a thought, convinced him that a side street was a shortcut. He took it. And there at a stoplight, he looked over and saw this guy playing the violin for his supper. That guy played his heart out, played like an angel, A stranger just passed him by like he wasn't even there. It humbled Louis. It put him back in touch with his roots, his own struggles, his passion for music.
It's important for the living to pay attention to those signs.
Hey, you never know who might be trying to get a message through, you know?
People on Earth often pray for guidance, but they ignore their spirits. Spirit says go left and they go right. It says go right and they go left. When we become lost, Spirit always knows our true path. People just need to listen.
My first life? Atlantis.
Atlantis.
Atlantis. Aztlan in the old tongue.
First time was in Lemuria. Only we called it Mu. You never forget your first, Holmes. My lives go back 100,000 years. Those Atlantean first-timers are a bunch of rookies, you see.
Where was your first life on Earth?
Atlantis. I had 5 lives there.
What did you do there?
I was a farmer. Developed a pretty good green thumb. Had gardens in most of my lives. Irene was there with me too. We go way back. Of course her name wasn't Irene then. It was Una. Those were the days. Atlantis was a good stretch until the tsunami wiped it from the history books. A few half-forgotten legends and some artifacts are all that remain of that time.
What about some of your other lives?
I was a man of faith and a man of science. I was a lady of the evening.
I served in the Temple of Poseidon in Atlantis. My name was Maya back then, too. I've had that name for several lifetimes. Sometimes, I choose to be born in the month of May. It helps me to remember who I really am.
I was a fisherman in that life, kept food on the table, had 10 beautiful kids. 3 died. Things were hard back then. But I've seen them all since, many times.
I've been his brother, her father,
his uncle, her mother, his sister,
His cousin, his uncle, and his daughter.
I've killed him once. Saved her twice.
I killed all of us once.
When I dropped the nitro. And sometimes we were complete strangers, but not often.
You've really been there for each other.
Hey, that's what a family does, Bato.
What was your least favorite life?
I was a powerful chief, a high priest named Black Jaguar of the Shadowed Sun. I was cruel, destroyed many lands, sacrificed thousands of lives. I didn't understand what true power was. To destroy something takes no power. Anyone can destroy. To create something, that's power.
My least favorite? Concubine to the Emperor of China. That randy bastard wouldn't leave me alone. Never got one decent night's sleep.
Being burnt at the stake wasn't a high point. And that time in the concentration camp when they took my children. And that turn as a Roman gladiator. We have invented so many creative ways to die.
You're very hard on yourself.
Yeah. Well, I've done some things I'm not proud of, I guess.
If you don't believe this is the afterlife, then why be concerned? If death is the end, then there are no consequences.
Maybe I'm wrong. Am I really dead?
Only your body.
What the hell do you want?
You're a jerk.
What?
I said you're a jerk.
You murdered Tawny and me. I'm the jerk.
Okay, so I was a jerk too, but you know what? I got over it. Look at you, moping around this dump, wallowing in your own self-pity. Go after her.
Hitman and marriage counselor now, huh? Quite a resume.
Don't you get it? We're more than we used to be. We're free. No more roles. You can be whoever you want to be.
You think so?
There's only one way to find out, my friend.
Come back. I am not your friend.
Look, I'm sorry for what I did. I'm trying to make it up to you.
Can you give Tawny and me our lives back?
We both had our debts to pay.
Do you really think Tawny can forgive me?
Do you still love her?
I am more than anything in the world.
Then prove it.
How do I find her?
Everyone has an energy signature. If you tune into Tawny's, it'll pull you to her like a magnet.
How do I do that?
Close your eyes. Come on, close your eyes. Okay. Now, remember what she feels like. In here, in your heart. That's it.
Not bad, Sergei.
Thank you. You know what? I'm not really such a bad guy after all. Now that I remember who I really am.
Angie and I used to write each other letters every week. I scribbled a quick one right before the op, but I never mailed it.
How did you two meet?
Oh, we've known each other since we were 10 years old. And we hung out with the same group of friends, cut the same classes. We even got sent to the principal's office a couple times together. I couldn't imagine marrying any other gal.
I had 3 great loves in my life. My wife Dastere, and my 2 sons Taza and Naiche. Taza would have been a strong Lantan, chief. But he was poisoned at a peace talk in Washington, D.C. Naiche learned to distrust the word peace. I was sad to leave them, but we're all together now.
Mom kept telling Dad that I was trying to send a message. He got angry again and said that I was in heaven. That I wouldn't be hanging around the house, because that would mean I was a lost soul or something.
Maybe you should appear to them.
I tried, but only Danny could see me. He was going to tell him I was there, but I was afraid to get in trouble again. So I told him to keep quiet.
Is it time to move on?
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd.
You know, spirits can't really get drunk.
Yeah. One of the downsides to being dead.
How is it going with your father?
You know, win some, lose some, except without the winning part. Might as well be talking to a marble statue.
What about the time he was crying when you thought he heard you?
Dry as Death Valley. Hasn't shed a tear since. Gotta give it to him. He doesn't dwell on things.
there was a wise woman who's an even wiser spirit now, who realized that there were 5 stages to the process of dying: denial, anger, bargaining, and depression, and finally acceptance, and then death itself. To that, I would add one more: rebirth.
Now that Ronald and Janice finally believe I'm real, Susan tells them what I'm saying, we've had a few conversations.
That's great, isn't it?
Well, now that we're talking, what I'm trying to say is, Ronald really isn't such a bad fellow after all.
You sound disappointed again.
Well, I hate to admit it, but I suppose I really was rather lonesome. Alive or dead, it's nice to have a family.
And what about soulmates?
I think whoever teaches you the most about yourself, whether a lover or a friend, or sometimes even an enemy, can be a soulmate.
I met Sarah's father through a friend. And coming from this side, I can see the man had issues from when he was a child. He fell in with a bad crowd. I divorced him, but I was already pregnant. Instead of searching for a soulmate, I guess I should have been doing more soul searching.
It's great to see you together again.
I was a gambler most of my life. Luck comes and it goes. But Tawny, first time I ever made a sure bet.
So, we're gonna have our honeymoon in heaven.
I figured if a girl like Tawny loves me, I'm already a winner.
Doesn't he say the sweetest things?
You finally accepted that you're dead.
Yeah. I remember everything now. Choosing my last life, choosing my parents, the theme I wanted to explore.
Why didn't you believe in life after death?
Oh, I tend to be spiritual most of my lives. Except this time I chose not to believe. I wanted to stay focused on that physical reality and not get sidetracked, you know?
And how did that work out?
I got lost every now and then, you know? Treated myself and some friends pretty badly. Not that you have to believe in the afterlife to be a good person. It's just that total physical focus was unfamiliar territory for me.
So, how was your life review?
Best of times and worst of times, all there for the reliving. Happy times with mom and dad at the pier. The divorce, where I learned fear of abandonment, and used that to drive everyone away from me that mattered. I fell madly in love with money.
What did you learn?
That it's the little moments that make life special.
Are you going to choose another life?
Yeah. I made a lot of money in that last life, so, I mean, enough for generations. I'm gonna go back to that same family, and when I turn 18, I'm gonna inherit it all over again.
You're not worried you'll fall into the same pattern?
You don't have to be poor to be spiritual. And this time I'm gonna be rich, both physically and spiritually.
I've had 54 lives on Earth. No, wait, 55. I forgot I lived 2 lives in the same period. That's double the experience in half the time. You can't beat that.
Did you meet your other self?
We lived in different countries. But one time, I passed her in the airport and I didn't know it.
I have had 87 lives on Earth. Wouldn't change a one.
I've had 12, but I'm learning.
You are doing just fine.
Think I might go for lucky 13.
That's the spirit.
146. 47 lives. But it's not the number, you know. It's how you live them that counts.
I've been in every war that ever was. The ape man in the movie that clocks the other ape man over the head with a bone. I've been that guy. Been the good guy, the bad guy, even been the guy caught in between the two.
Why so many lives in times of war?
You learn a lot about people in war. Learn a lot about yourself. When your life's on the line, or the lives of your buddies, I mean, it keeps you in the present. Lets you know what's important. One of these days when we take that lesson to heart, maybe we won't fight anymore. But I'm not holding my breath. One thing's for sure, I've fought my last war.
Turns out we all enjoy Halloween. I especially enjoy the little children in their adorable costumes. Ronald gives them candy, then I appear and frighten the tar out of them. We laugh as they scream and scurry away. I tell you, I haven't had this much fun in 100 years. Excuse me, my dear Tada.
So keep the kiddies waiting.
Sometimes I think I'll go back to being a male. But then I think I didn't really give the lesbian lifestyle a fair shake, you know? I mean, there's a lot of sisters back on Earth who could use a sympathetic ear. Or I could swing both ways.
How many lives have you had?
Only 25. Still a lot of virgin territory.
I have lived 49 times on Earth, and many more on other worlds. Once, long ago, when I lived as a Star Nation being, I visited Earth on a great ship. This drawing tells the story of that visit. It was then that I decided to incarnate here. When I look up at the night sky, I remember those ancient lives. I think I will go back and find my relatives among the stars. One day, the people on Earth will learn to live in peace. On that day, maybe I'll return in another great ship.
What's the most important thing you've learned from your lives on Earth?
Even though we have many lives, each one is unique, precious. I have learned to make each one count, to make a difference.
There are a lot of different beliefs on Earth about what happens after you die. Heaven, hell, something, nothing, everything in between.
Then, when spirits first arrive in the afterlife?
Most times they see the kind of afterlife they believe they would see. Eventually, they learn that life in spirit and on Earth, it's all about what you believe.
When I first arrived in spirit, I asked my guide if I could meet God, and he showed me an image of the universe. And then I realized we'd already met.
I hear people are often surprised to discover that heaven and hell are just different experiences in the same spirit realm.
Everyone comes home, no matter what. One thing's for sure, death is a life-changing experience.
Finally got a message through to my dad. I chose him as my father. He chose me as his daughter. I chose to die when I did because I knew that somehow he'd eventually have to fill the hole that I left in his life and in his heart.
What did he do?
He joined a grief counseling group. Parents whose kids died. After that, I could get through to him. We even went to a baseball game together in one of his dreams. I have a better relationship with my dad dead than when I was alive. People shouldn't have to die before we tell them how we really feel. You know?
Are you okay, Cedric?
Of course I am. Why shouldn't I be?
Where's the family?
On holiday?
Something's bothering you.
Nothing, I'm sure.
And yet?
Well, they should have been back by now, but probably having too much fun to worry about some creaky old ghost. You see, that's exactly why I didn't want to get close. I've always been disappointed by the living. Do you think they're all right?
They're perfectly fine.
You know where they are, don't you?
You could go to them.
I can't leave my home. Where are they?
I think you already know.
Ronald, Janice, and Susan all...
They're waiting for you on the next level.
I can't leave my home.
Why?
I'm just a novelty, a cocktail party conversation piece, an inexplicable phenomenon. I mean, they don't really care about me.
Susie misses you. They all do. What are you really afraid of?
I once died from a broken heart. I can't live with one through all eternity.
This is just a house. Your family is your home.
Well, they do say that home is where the heart is.
Go home, Cedric. One final question. How do you perceive God now that you're in spirit?
It always amazes me that religions promote the idea of an all-powerful, omnipresent God, yet with human failings like anger and revenge. I've never been able to believe in a creator limited by such a lack of imagination. No place, no time, not even a concept is outside of the Creator. From this point of view, no beliefs are in conflict. All beliefs are equally valid.
And your thoughts on death?
Death is just another way of saying that things change. There is no afterlife. There's just life.
Irene, honey.
You know how much I enjoy the crossing.
Welcome home, my darling.
I missed you so much. Our favorite song. And flowers. Oh, you're such a sweetie.
Do you want to stay this time?
No more incarnations?
There are other places besides Earth.
Another planet? Another dimension?
Yes.
It doesn't matter. As long as we're together.
Pardon me. Best wishes on your journey.
You seem so familiar. Who are you exactly?
I'm many things to many people.
Oh, you're very mysterious.
Mystery is the spice of life.
Since these were your final incarnations on Earth, do you have any last words for the living?
Life is short. Enjoy the little things. Don't worry so much. You live, you die. You get over it. Life goes on.